The United Kingdom's Ministry of Defense latest intelligence update on Ukraine, July 29, 2023. Intensified fighting has occurred over the past 48 hours in two key sectors of southern Ukraine. South of Orikhiv, clashes are centered around the village of Robotyne, within the area of operations of Russia's 58th Combined Arms Army. Ukrainian forces likely seek to disrupt Russian ground lines of communication in this sector. 80 kilometers to the east, elite Ukrainian airborne units scored a notable tactical victory against elements of Russia's 247th Guards Air Assault Regiment, seizing the village of Staromayorsky. This suggests growing proficiency by Ukrainian forces in combined arms warfare. Meanwhile, in northern Donbas, Russian VDV airborne forces continue slow and costly attacks west of Kremlin in the Serebryansk forest. Their limited gains indicate operational challenges posed by Ukrainian defenses in depth. Overall, recent Ukrainian successes reflect growing combat capability enabled by Western-provided weapons and training. Russian forces face mounting difficulties projecting strength beyond heavily reinforced defensive positions. Ukraine appears poised to exploit these vulnerabilities through further counteroffensives. The Institute for the Study of War, Russian Offensive Campaign Assessment. Elements of Russia's pro-war nationalist media appear to be rallying around the Kremlin's effort to portray Ukraine's counteroffensive as a failure. Prominent military bloggers increasingly mischaracterize Ukrainian operations as a series of failed frontal assaults along the entire line of contact. On July 29, Russian sources widely circulated old footage from June 7, falsely claiming it showed a Russian tank recently defeating an entire Ukrainian armored company. This follows a pattern of amplifying outdated visuals to exaggerate current Ukrainian armor losses. President Putin recently alleged, without evidence, that Ukraine lost 39 armored vehicles in western Zaporizhia in days, a notable escalation in his inflated claims about counteroffensive casualties. While some Russian military bloggers acknowledge localized Ukrainian gains and defensive challenges, the overriding narrative aligns with the Kremlin's apparent policy shift to downplay the counteroffensive success and overstate Russia's military effectiveness. However, pro-war influencers remain unable to conceal Russia's underlying operational difficulties and vulnerabilities. Ukraine appears poised to continue exploiting these through further offensives. The Kremlin's propaganda efforts suggest growing domestic pressure to justify the war's costs and conceal its faltering progress. The Institute for the Study of War key takeaways today. Russian military bloggers increasingly toe Kremlin line on counteroffensive, likely fearing punishment after Gherkin's arrest. But propaganda struggles to mask Russian failures. Ukraine made gains in at least 3 sectors on July 29, displaying growing combined arms skills. Ukraine likely struck Russian military targets in occupied Crimea, July 28, 29. Russia retaliated by hitting civilian areas in Dnipro with missiles. Russia continues attacks along Svatov-Kremina and Avdiivka-Donetsk lines, claiming gains near Svatov. Ukraine counterattacked along the same axes, advancing around Bakhmut. Ukraine also launched offensive ops along western Donetsk, eastern Zaporizhia border, making gains. Russia unable to advance there despite attacks. Russia still struggling with manpower, resorting to covert mobilization in occupied areas. Forced deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia continues. Overall assessment. Russia faces long-term obstacles projecting combat power beyond reinforced positions. Ukraine appears poised to exploit vulnerabilities through further offensives despite Russian attacks on civilians. Kremlin propaganda aims to downplay counteroffensive successes but cannot conceal military shortcomings and setbacks. Recent Ukrainian counteroffensive operations display increasing skill, allowing localized gains even on axes where Russia is attacking. Russia remains on defense in some sectors due to force generation woes, while Ukraine poised to exploit vulnerabilities.